Hey everyone, welcome back to the Stormies and our reveal of the finalists. Congratulations to all of you who made it. We're so thrilled that you are a part of this, that you submitted your images, and I'm so excited for you to see if you made it. To those that did, well done. To those that didn't, thank you for submitting. Please keep trying. Get out there this year. Maybe you are already. Kick some butt and come back next year and let's do it again. Critiques were fun. We had some surprise guests I hope you enjoy. Unfortunately, Linda was under the weather and couldn't join us for the finalists review, so we all hope she's getting better. And before we jump in, I just wanted to mention one more time our sponsors, Tempest Weather Flow. They donated 2 of them. You can go get one right now for a discount and support our sponsor there, Imagecraft, who supplies the metal prints for our winners. They are based here in Phoenix and my favorite printer, and I love them so much. So thank them for being a part of that. To Extreme Tornado Tours and Nick Dreischman, he helps with the tornado critique, and he supplies part of the award for the tornado photo of the year. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate your friendship and being a part of our contest. And to Rich with Lightning Trigger 4, thanks for once again donating the best lightning trigger out there. So without further ado, here are the finalists. I'm going to launch us into this. So we are here. We got Mike Meswell, special guest today, special guest judge. Haven't seen him in 2 years. I think you were just at the first one that we did. So this is our third one, which is insane. So Mike wanted to grace us with his appearance and rip your photo of the year to shreds. I'm just kidding. All these photos are great, so there's nothing bad to say about them.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys got this year, man.
Yeah, so we've got our photo of the year. We'll start off with the first one. We've critiqued a lot of these already, so we're not going to go too crazy. But Mike, I will let you talk if you want. Is more than us because Dennis and I did, but this was one of my favorites that we saw, and it's not a crazy supercellar tornado or anything like that. But I mean, my God, what a great composition and scene, and I'm sure you know where this is up in Oregon. So
this is nice, man. It's cool to see something that isn't just giant supercell on the plains, and the composition is really well done on it. You get some nice modest spots, lights done nicely done. And man, if this is what you're starting off with, this is going to be a lot harder than I thought.
Yeah, it's not easy. We have a lot. I think we actually have some pretty decent variety in these top 10, and it's pretty interesting. It's pretty cool this year.
Yeah, I like this though too, because it's highlighting kind of the aspect, like the more refined aspect of a storm. Everybody gets the big wide angles out, and this photographer looks like they went more like with the mid zoom range and kind of honed in on those small details, which I think a lot of us overlook in the chaos at times. So that's nice.
Yeah, no, beautiful scene, and the mammatus and the rainbow and all that is fantastic. This next one made it to our top 10. Congratulations to them. Dennis, I think this was one of our favorite photos as well. I mean, obviously it's in the top 10, but
yeah, this has got Halloween written all over it, man. No, it's cool. I like it. I like it a lot. One, just the scale. It's really hard, obviously, to convey at times, especially out in Tornado Alley. Like we're all scrambling for the nearest windmill for something, right?
Yep.
So to find this old house out there, that's pretty cool. It looks a little dark, and I understand, it's dark, but and it could just be how the shadows are coming through, but it looks like underneath the base of the storm there, and also in those details in the trees, it looks like it might be clipped a little bit. So just kind of only a little constructive criticism there.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit pushed to the left on the histogram, but I think maybe they were going for that to be a little bit moody and dark. But yeah, it could probably be just a smidge brighter, a little more details in the trees. And my only quibble at the time, which you just brought up a great point, was just actually the little white poles here from either a fence or something you can barely see anyway, that I probably would have just removed those. But in general, this photo is just really, really good. And I don't know if it doesn't look like maybe they did any local adjustments, but the light on the house lit up super white and kind of bright, and it's not moody. That's just fantastic. So
yeah, and I think this is where, like, compositionally speaking, the photo's great.
Yes.
I think in post it could use a little work to kind of bring some life to it. Obviously, you got that dark, moody appearance to it, and it might be kind of an emotion that the photographer's trying to convey through the image.
Yeah.
But there's definitely data there to work with. And one of the big things that I think about when judging and also just, you know, kind of critiquing other images is, how is this image going to print? Because if you try to print this image, those darks are just going to be black, and that, you know, you want to see that texture. You want to see some of the life that's in those shadows. Like, shadows are shadows, but also make sure that they retain a little bit of detail to them where it's just not black. So that's kind of my picky feedback here.
No, I like it. Dennis, this was one of your favorites as well, I think?
Absolutely. Yeah, the horse is the touch for the whole scene for me. So the storm is great too. So there's a lot ongoing there. Some outflowish stuff in the sky, dust everywhere. But the horses, I don't know. It's just the the tip of the cake, or what would you say? What would you say?
Oh, the like icing on the cake?
Yes, that's the point. Yeah, I'm sorry.
There's a lot of motion there with that one horse, especially, that just gives this such energy. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I'm going to start bringing horse figurines with me out on every chase and just planting them in the field. I mean, I love this shot here. I think it's fantastic. Just the storm is, let's be real, the storm's not like one of those crazy, you know, supercells where we're like, oh, this is going to be one we talk about for years. But the scene that they captured, it's fantastic. You know, it tells a story. And I think that's more what I've started looking at with storm photography is, you know, a scene that tells a story, not just here's a cloud that looks cool. You know, tell a story, and you can feel the emotion, you can feel the power, you can feel the energy within the frame just from that one horse running. And, you know, it's captured perfectly to where it's not like a three-legged horse. You know, it's like all four legs are spread out. So whether that was shot in a sequence and the photographer chose this photo because of that separation, whatever it may be, that works. Only negative critiques here is I'm not a big fan of the vignette going on. You have a pretty strong vignette going on. You know, it's a cool scene. Let us see all the corners. There's no reason to create that vignette. That vignette works best when you're trying to bring your audience right to the center of the frame, and there's already enough compositional elements in this scene to do that. So
agreed.
That's kind of my thoughts there. But I dig the horses a lot. I like the story behind it.
And I in our last one we did, this image is really funny to me because we were there driving by, and we actually saw the horses, and we're like, oh my gosh, we should pull over. But there was another vehicle there and people out shooting the horse, or a couple of photographers were like, well, we're not stealing their composition, you know, so we'll keep driving. And then lo and behold, the photo they were taking makes it to the top 10 this year, right where we were thinking of going. So very funny, very ironic to me, and hilarious, but a lovely picture.
What you're saying is this a shared copyright image, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If I would have stopped, yes, but here's another one. This one is just a crazy lightning strike. I think when I first, or two lightning strikes, I should say, when I first saw this image, the first thing that I kind of thought about was that I feel like maybe it was cropped, you know, more to the right side of the image because the right bolt looks a little slanted like it would on a wide angle on the right side. But I love the square crop of it anyway. And these two bolts lighten up, you know, the green fields there are just spectacular, especially when you zoom in and you can kind of see this field out there lit up, a little farmhouse, and this one especially. That's just I am such a lightning junkie and landing point junkie that this was just amazing. Some of the bolt areas a little blown out in certain places, but it's just, you know, pretty insane bolt, not that far away, obviously, from where this person was standing. So like maybe a mile or less. Just spectacular.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. And sorry, Dennis, do you have something?
Yeah, I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. That's one of those pictures, as you said, Mike. I want to see it in print, in large.
Yep.
Because there are so many little details in the lightning bolts and in the clouds and in the foreground as well. So, and just on the display, it seems to be, it has some 3 dimensions.
Yes.
So, and I like it very much this way. Yeah. Yep. And also the crop. And I'm not a big fan of one-to-one crops, but in this case, it works perfectly. In my opinion. Yeah.
I agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, I think the crop choice is interesting. It's actually looking at it, it doesn't. It's actually not a 1-to-1. It looks like more like almost like a 4-by-3.
Oh, is
Yeah,
it?
yeah, maybe,
So
maybe, yeah.
I wonder if they shot this on like an Olympus or something that is a micro four thirds camera.
Interesting.
Um, but yeah, I love the bolts. You know, I think we could all agree. You know, like a good CG out in front of the rain is a treat. But then you get, it looks like they actually have 4 different bolts here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
the 2 really powerful landing points, then the one kind of crisscrossing on the right, and then very faintly in the back, you get that other one there.
Yep.
So it's a really cool dynamic scene with all this lightning just kind of coming around from like, looks like almost apocalyptic. Like if this is a storm where you're worried about getting struck on, like you have good reason to, because the bolts are just flying everywhere. I think
Absolutely.
from a photographic standpoint, though, I mean, it looks really sharp, and I love the fact that they were able to, whether it was in post or just in the field, they controlled the highlights. So
Yep.
those contact points aren't
Yep.
blown out. The points coming out of the clouds, which we all know are probably some of the hardest to control, those look
Very hard.
relatively
Yep.
controlled. So yeah, they really nice job here.
Yeah. No, it's one of the best I think lightning photos that we saw. I think there's a chance it might be in the lightning category. I can't remember, but they entered it in multiple spots. So move on to the next one. I know Linda is not here today. I should have said something at the beginning about that, but Linda is not feeling good, and so she's unable to join us. She's very disappointed. But this was one of her favorite images. She really liked. The green that kind of in the front, which at first I'm big on symmetry, so I tend to want to be a little more like, I would almost in my head want to be away from the green and just have it more just all that you know, brown or golden wheat in the rainbow and kind of nothing. But then the more I looked at it and the more I was actually listening to her, I actually really do like the green adding some balance and some color to this thing. But this is a totally just peaceful scene. I love the double rainbow, and there's something I forgot what it was called. Something I learned about the 2 rainbows and how the light is different on either side of the rainbow. And it's I forgot what it was called now, and I should have looked it up since the last time. But it's a very lovely image.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't mention that in the earlier sessions, but what I like on this image too is the rainbow is just like a window. Everything,
Yes.
the sky is dark, but there's just inside the rainbow, the small blue gap in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's perfectly captured there. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Dennis there. I love how the rainbow frames up kind of like this almost like night to day or like doom to gloom kind of feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my critique here though is you know, I would have liked to see them go 4 or 5 feet further in. And I understand triggers are a thing, but go further in. The green doesn't do it for me. It's actually quite distracting. Because once you're using this symmetry and this framing mechanism to lead your audience's eye through the frame. You got warm to cool tones, you've got dark to light, you've got this framing. So everything in this frame is pointing your eye towards inside the rainbow, right? But
Yeah.
once you start seeing that difference in color, that green, and especially in the bottom right corner where you see that splash of yellow in the bottom right, and then kind of a little left to bottom right, you have another splash of yellow, that breaks that up. And once I feel like you see those brighter colors, corners are so important.
Yes.
So once you see those brighter colors in the corners there, it's really hard, no matter how hard you stare at that rainbow, to not be somewhat pulled into that corner. So
Yeah.
I would like to see them go in a little further, just make that whole field of gold fill the bottom frame,
Yeah.
and then have it focus on the rainbow. The subject is the rainbow. The subject's not the green wheat. So I feel like there's a battle once your eye catches on to that. So
yeah, and that's kind of how I felt first, and then like sometimes I would Linda really liked it, and I was looking at the thumbnail, and like sometimes if I see it really small in the thumbnail, the color palette of it is very pleasing, and so the green as part of it is very pleasing. I know personally that if I were there, I would have walked out there to do that, because I would want it very, like you said, symmetrical and kind of one tone, because that's more of just my style and stuff. But it doesn't, after I looked at it, I like the color it adds, but I totally agree with distractions on the corners and those 2 kind of brighter yellow bushes on the edge do
And
kind of distract you a little bit. Yeah.
I think it would have worked really well with that kind of quick pop of green, then the transition to gold.
Yep.
If those two little pockets of yellow weren't there, like if they went in, kind of made a hue adjustment layer to bring that yellow to more green, that might balance that out a little bit. But
and this is like this is the crazy, like, kind of things that when you get to, you know, Mike does it for a living and I do this for a living. Dennis comes to spend so much money to come out here for 2 months. Like we take it all like very seriously. And these are the things where, yeah, if I was standing there, these are the things you think about. I take a picture, look at it and go, yeah, there's something distracting there. I need to change it or something. So these are the things that we are thinking about. And the people that are, you know, legends in the world have been doing this for so long. These are the things they think about. And so these critiques are more of just noticing those little things that we don't always think about. And people that are just learning and starting out, these are things you don't always think about. And it takes time to learn all that. So, all right, we'll move on to the next one. Definitely one of, I believe this is going to be in another one or two, but this is just a perfectly kind of composed, you know, image with the idea that when I first looked at this, if I wasn't seeing the island down here, I would have been like, oh, you got to crop to the upper right a little bit because I want the lightning bolts framed. But this little village at the bottom with the lights in the city perfectly frames this lightning bolt. And I just absolutely love this one.
Yeah, it's almost like a battle between the lightning bolts and the coastline. So it's
Right.
It's somehow it's a very peaceful scene.
Yep.
It's weird, but I feel it like this way. But otherwise, it's very scary and frightening stuff. And so
Yeah.
I like the dance between these both feelings. So yeah.
And there's a really nice sense of scale with it is what I think I really like. Is it's hard to know for sure, you know, maybe what we're looking at, like the size of this village and all that stuff, but it all feels really small compared to these giant lightning bolts that are off in the distance.
Yeah, the only thing I wish the coastline would be a bit more bright, just a bit more detail in it. So, but okay, but the village is doing its thing like it should, so it's okay. It's good. Yeah, I like it very much. Would love to have a kid.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of in that boat, man. Like we all want something like this where you're looking top down, you can see the landing points and over the ocean. That's goals. But I think the shot's wonderful. You know, I agree with Dennis there. How it feels like this battle, like you have the approaching storm, and it's almost like you expect to like zoom in on that little village and see everybody with their swords like pointing to the sky and it is cool and it conveys really nice scale. I think too, also agreeing with you, Dennis, like I would like to see a little bit more inland, just the shadows recovered just a little bit instead of that like really kind of harsh fade to black. But this might be an image too that is worthy of cropping to a 1x1. You would lose some of that. I'm moving my mouse around over here like you guys can see, but just to the left of where that light kind of fades off. Maybe a little bit more to the right. So just like right about there, that's the edge of the frame. And then you convey the scale even more so, and you have that kind of light to dark battle. So, but I think it's a wonderful image, and they did once again a great job just controlling the highlights, especially on those landing points in the water. So
yeah, and this bolt is very bright coming down here, and definitely controlled that very well. And the one thing I really liked, just subtly noticing, you know, the three-dimensional aspect of where the rain is falling, the curtains of the rain, and it just adds so much to see it's falling up here near this lightning bolt, but then there's no rain here, and then you see it start. There's just these up high perspectives on, especially lightning, is it's one of my favorite things. I strive for that all the time. I just unfortunately live in a desert where we don't get beautiful oceans and island stuff. It's just amazing. So here's another up high perspective. This one made our top 10 as well. There's just something about this one that we just really, really loved. The scale of the storm and the lightning and the colors and you know, juxtaposed with, you know, this little industrial plant and a road and lights and even these, you know, wind turbines out here just looking so small up against this, you know, kind of mean looking storm.
Yeah, that's definitely the most important thing here in this image, that you can feel the scale of the storm. And that's why I love this so much. Okay, I don't know if it's a drone shot or not. I don't know exactly, but the perspective, it's the key in this one.
Yeah, I mean, overall, regardless drone shot or not, like really nice shot. Um, I love, once again, scale. I'm a big sucker for scale, so I love the fact that like you can feel this massive beast of a storm coming into, you know, this village or wherever this may be. Um, it feels like, I don't know, it might just be the way the rain shaft is. It feels like it's tilting down to the left a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just the rain shaft throwing the level there.
Yeah, I know it feels like that to me too, but I also wasn't sure if it's the way the rain is and the horizon being hidden and all that. So it's very tough to kind of know.
Yeah, and I always feel like a jerk when I'm like, yeah, your drone's on level as you fly it into a storm.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean, I think a small little crop, there's obviously what's visually level and what's earthly level. So if you're shooting what's
Yeah.
earthly level and it doesn't feel visually level, go with what's visually level, unless
Yeah.
there's some sort of significant item or subject that's going to make you go like, oh, that building's leaning 45 degrees, something's wrong.
Yep.
It would be interesting to see what this looked like in like a 16:9 panel, like crop it just from below that kind of city light area that's in the middle center of the frame.
Yeah. Right.
And then that might convey the scale a little bit better, because this kind of black forested area that's at the bottom portion of the frame, it's this, once again, it's so small, but once you see it, it's this big black void, right? So your eye kind of gets pulled down there on the bottom of the frame. It adds weight to the bottom of the frame. So going with that 16:9 crop, that would crop the majority of that out, but still keep the important pieces that convey scale, like the wind turbines, the buildings, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I've kind of said, especially thinking about the horizon level, I think I mentioned that in one of the last ones we did, which is, even if you think it's straight, if it looks visually on looking at it on your photo, it doesn't look straight, then fix it, even though if you're like, no, that's actually level, but the viewer is going to see it and feel weird or feel off about it. And so it's okay to kind of go ahead and do that. All right, we'll move on to this next one, which I kind of did urge the photographer to enter this one because I thought it was spectacular. This is a situation, this was in Wyoming, and it's a situation that we just don't see, is just a big snow squall haboob moving in that this person was actually able to be in a position where they could do the best they could with the composition. I think we talked before about, a 16:9 crop possibly being okay because the top is just kind of white. But otherwise, there's a lot of storm photos that are things that we've seen before. And then part of this contest, and the reason I love it, is being able to have photos entered that are of things that we don't see very much of at all. And this is something that, rarely see, especially this defined, indents of a snow squall. I mean, you just turn this to brown and people would think it's a dust storm. I mean, from, Australia, or, wouldn't look like Saudi Arabia at all with the snow on the field or on the ground or anything like that. But you change the color of it, it could look just like a dust storm. So it's pretty insane.
Yeah, absolutely. Never seen anything like this. I just remember of some pictures, and they don't even got close to them. This was from the scoreline lake effect snow in Buffalo last year, at the end of last year or so.
Yes.
But it was not even close to this. And the uniqueness of this shot is, from my opinion, absolutely mind-blowing. So I'm a meteorologist for my living, and I never seen anything like this. So absolutely great shot. So yeah, you said it already. Maybe crop it out to a 16:9 or so. Maybe I think the perspective would be changed a little bit more also, so it would be more massive too.
Yep.
Maybe it could work out so, but man, the scenery is just awesome. So yeah, love it.
Yeah, looks like a giant snowball just coming at you. Yeah, I mean, definitely one of the more unique scenes I think we've ever seen. You know, and I think Mikey nailed it. Like it turned it brown, and you're in Arizona.
That's right.
I think from a photography standpoint, we all know too how difficult these situations are to photograph because it's coming at you so quickly, and you're just like, well, I can't really set up a composition or really take my time here. So, you know, going with the traditional kind of leading lines of the road here and that vanishing point works. Critiques are once again not. I think this might be a profile correction. Top left or top right corner are dark. So if you click the profile correction, you're going to bring those whites back. So 16 by 9, I think is going to work out great here to really kind of squeeze the audience's eye into the part of the frame that is most important, because once you go up into that like non-textured area, it becomes a little bit bland. So 16 by 9 keeps you honed in on all those details. And then, you know, for me, if you're going to go with a road shot, go with symmetry. So if you look at the bottom right versus the bottom left on how far over, they're just a little off center. And I know it sounds picky, but when you're entering images into a contest, you want to be as perfect as you can. So get that symmetry. So like 2 feet to the left, and you would have brought that road to be a much more symmetrical look. And also kind of coming in a little bit tighter, because you have, once again, the edge of the frame on the right side, right above the horizon, you have dark, right? And on the left side, you have light. So if you were to come in a little to the left and just kind of tilt the camera a little to the left, you could fill that white from edge to edge, essentially. So not where, once again, you have white everywhere and all this cool texture. And then on the right side of the frame, at the edge, which is obviously important, you have this black void. So it feels like it pulls you to the right. So
I agree. I will say that maybe the dark on the I can see your point, but I also really, really love the darkness in here because there's actually texture in there, and it makes it really spooky to me to think of the shadows in this snow haboob that's like lurking in there. I do kind of like that. I can see maybe a little bit more to the left where you see this one, but I do like kind of that darkness because it really adds to the spookiness of it. But
and then maybe a little bit of like burning in the middle of the frame works to darken that area to create that kind of same feeling. Because when you have a vanishing point like this, when you have leading lines, that's a leading line leads you somewhere. That should be the most prominent part of the frame. So if the most prominent part of your frame is off to the right, not where that leading line's going, it just feels unbalanced. So maybe if they're going to keep that dark area, burn a little bit of the shadow regions in the center where that leading line is vanishing, and then it balances out a little bit.
I gotcha. Yeah. Of course, in that situation,
exactly,
you don't know how much time you have to think about that, but I'm very impressed with just where they were and what they did with this, because I'm assuming that thing was hauling major butt. So it's very, very cool. All right, we'll go on. We have 2 left. Congrats to this photographer for getting, a spectacular, unbelievable supercell over the Badlands. I know that, they get a lot of supercells up there. I haven't ever seen a photo quite like this. And so pretty nice, pretty jealous.
Yeah, pretty jealous. That sums up, I remember when the storm was posted on social media, and it was in April, and I thought, April in South Dakota. That was unbelievable for the first moment for me, but I was jealous on the first time. So for me, it's definitely one of my favorite shots from this year. Definitely. I like the vertical composition because you can drop into the small canyon of the Badlands, and it leads you directly to the base of this mothership here. And that's very great. You can see all the details in the foreground. Maybe for my taste, on the midsection on the left, the light is maybe a bit too harsh, maybe just a bit, but we all know in these conditions, it's just the dynamic range is just crazy. If you shoot against the sun with the storm cloud in front, and so then it's very tough to get a shot right on this situation. So, but overall, I love the texture in the mesocyclone very much, and the contrast between just some brighter parts and the darker parts. Yeah, for me, one of my favorites from this year. Definitely. Congrats to this shot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Dennis, what you said, man, like April, like what the
April 22nd. It's
April.
not supposed to happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, like I saw this image come across social, and you know, your jaw hit the floor, right? I think all of us were like, well, I give up.
Yeah.
To me, I'll be completely honest. Like from the moment I saw this to me is the storm photo. Like this is the storm photo of the year. Like it conveys everything that you want in a moment out there, right? A beautiful supercell, right? You have great light, you have incredible scenery, and the Badlands, like I've been there, I think we've all probably been there at some point. It's a very chaotic spot. And to be able to find a scene where you have this depth that works, an elevated scene that works, light that works, like the light, the way that light is kind of kissing through the Badlands and leading you from those warm sections in the front to the cool sections in the back. It's not only is it shot very well,
It's very sharp.
it's very, very well composed as well. And you could tell that there's thought process as why the photographer went to this spot right here and shot this scene. And one of the other things that I can, you know, that I can compliment on this is we don't see many vertical shots, right?
Yeah.
So vertical, I feel like a lot of people forget that their camera does this when they're out there shooting, right? So to go into that vertical orientation here, it all works seamlessly. And you know, the biggest kind of critique that I could give is, once again, Dennis, I think you mentioned it, the dynamic range, it's just huge here. So they controlled those highlights in the background as well as they could. You could bracket and kind of bring it in, but at the same time, like I like the fact that like you kind of have this brighter light leaking out from the corners of the storm, which then once again kind of squeezes you into the middle of the frame. So it works, the symmetry works.
Yeah.
Biggest other thing is top left corner. Just go ahead and you know, maybe crop in a little tighter to get that top left corner, that little hot spot out. That's, you know, just a little bit picky there. But I mean, like I said, when I saw this come across, I was like, man, this is the storm photo of the year. I want to throw my camera out. It's a doozy. So
yeah, it's spectacular.
Yeah, as you said, Mike, it's a fantastic job to get this composition. Even if you are in the Badlands just for landscape photography, it's so hard to get the composition.
Yeah, I mean, I've shot there and I teach out in the Badlands quite a bit, and it takes time to find those perfect compositions, and to be able to do that with this beautiful supercell just going, hey, I'm here. That's special. So,
well, and driving through that park is very slow.
Oh.
So if you were, because I mean, I've been there once or twice now, and I was like, I don't really want to chase in here because you're going 25, 30 miles an hour with a bunch of cars. You can't really do what you want to do. And so the fact, like you said, that they were in this spot, not only is it a great composition, but they're up high, there's distance, there's scale. I mean, it's probably the most perfect place you could be.
And I saw some videos too from that day. And if I remember correctly, the storm didn't have this kind of mothershipy look for long. So to be in that perfect spot, set up, ready to go, like that's a lot of mental preparedness too. So
agreed. All right, we'll go on to our last one, which is another beautifully composed image. My takeaway on this one, there's a few, you know, editing things, like some of the, you know, around the barn. You can see it's kind of like the shadows were up, so there's just a little bit of haloing around that. But I love the composition of this. It could be a smidge tighter, but these leading lines are lovely. This barn is placed in such a great kind of juxtaposition, creating this, you know, almost like an X kind of thing with this lightning bolt coming down. And I feel like it's very tastefully edited, not oversaturated, which is easy to do. Even, you know, I was there shooting in a totally different spot, but it was, I feel like I had to actually bring the saturation down to not overdo it because of how intense the color was in the sky. So I feel like this photographer also accomplished that by not kind of overdoing it. But lovely, lovely composition.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think the scene is awesome. I mean, let's just take the barn out, take the field out, like a beautiful
Yeah.
LP with lightning coming out of the
Yeah.
anvil, like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. At sunset, okay. And if you look closely at like 600%, you'll see the unicorn running away.
Yeah.
But I think the only thing that really gets me here is um, the light feels a little weird on the barn, because if you think about where the light's coming from, all the light on the supercell is left to right, and
Yeah.
then you have kind of right to left light on the barn. And I understand why they did that, to kind of recover the front of it, but it just feels a little off when you really start thinking about the way the light works. And also a little bit tighter crop. I agree with you, Mike, on that one. Like come in from maybe the mid right and pull in, because that space on the right starts to create a little too much negative space, and
Yeah.
once again pulls you that way when the majority of the focal point's to the left.
Yeah.
But
Well,
beautiful
one
shot.
thing, one maybe possible rebuttal or reason for the light on the barn is that obviously, since I was there, that's the only reason I would even know this. But this storm was north, and that's what I was shooting to. But to the east was a monstrous other storm, bathed in like insane orange.
Gotcha.
Like the sun
Okay.
was beasting on it, and so there could have been a reflection kind of back into that barn from those storms. So I'm not sure if that was it. There is definitely, like I said, some haloing around it. So shadows were brought up. Some kind of either just global shadows was done, or they did, brush or whatever to do that. But I think there is a chance there was somewhat of a reflection from another
That
cloud,
makes
another
sense.
storm. So, yeah. Well, congratulations to those 10 photographers for getting into the top 10. We will find out who the top 3 are next week.